All right, good evening, everybody. This is a special City Commission meeting of the Gainesville City Commission. This is September 27th, 2021. We'll call this meeting to order, and is there a motion to adopt our agenda?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ward, second by Santos to adopt the agenda. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? That motion passes unanimously. And so our first order of business this evening is a presentation by the University of Florida to present their campus development agreement to us. And so they will start off by giving a presentation. Then we will ask any questions that we might have and then have a discussion. And so with that, Dr. Lane, am I going to recognize you?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Do we have our slides available, Mayor?
Yes, they'll pull those up for you in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. Well, you're here. Congratulations on being named in the top 5 public universities in the country. I know that took a lot of work.
I didn't hear that. Say that again. I'm sorry.
We're very proud, and
Thank
of
you.
course, as a 2-time Gator graduate, the value of my degrees continue to go up.
I appreciate that, Mr. Mayor.
I'm glad I invested in education and not Bitcoin.
Where do I point to advance here?
So we'll advance them for you, Dr.
Okay.
Lane. Yeah, that's where we're not, we don't have that connected yet.
Okay.
Yeah, and the clerk, I believe, will minimize the Zoom bar on the right so we can see the full slides. And then you just let them know when you want to advance the
I believe
slide.
we're ready to get started, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Thank you. We'll start with that slide. So, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, appreciate your time this evening. Mr. Feldman. I'm joined this evening by Linda Dixon, our Director of Planning, and we'll be talking to you about our campus development agreement and the campus master plan to some extent. Before we start, I'd like to ask you to indulge me as I read a quote from a noted author, Charles Montgomery, that I think is relevant tonight. He wrote a book called Happy City. It goes as such: it's impossible to separate the life and design of a city from the attempt to understand happiness, to experience it, and to build it for society. The search shapes cities, and cities shape the search in return. One more time: the search shapes cities, and cities shape the search in return. Clearly, the master plan that we'll be talking about and its resulting campus development agreement serve as an opportunity to shape the city, and we take that very seriously. I want you to know that. So the first bullet I'll reference here, this MOU, our mayor had a hand in that. It was February 14, 2017, Valentine's Day. We signed an MOU, UF did, with the city. Dr. Kent Fox signed it, and it really pledged our support of one another to work on challenging issues that might involve the city and the university. And I think we have taken that very seriously, but there's so much more work that we can do together, and I want to remind us of that as we start these proceedings tonight. The purpose of the meeting tonight is really twofold. One is to provide us with another opportunity to work together in partnership to make our city great and even happy, as I started, and to explain how U.S. plans for the future may or may not impact the city's services and the need for an approved campus development agreement. So our campus master plan was adopted by our Board of Trustees in December 2020. And as an outgrowth of that plan, we are now engaging with you and our county commissioners about an extension of our campus development agreement, which Linda will go through, and I know she's spoken to each of you about. So just the next point down there, as a matter of clarification, the campus development agreement only addresses on-campus development. It doesn't address the development that goes on off-campus. And on that point, I think it's worth noting that we've all seen a lot of development around our campus. According to our research, there are about 17,400 existing apartment units surrounding the campus, and another 2,758 units are either planned or in development right now that are allowed by the zoning efforts that we have in place. Obviously, UF can't control that. Our university being here may have contributed to that, but it's not as if we can control that. And I want to make sure that we make that point, because many people think that those apartments are built by UF, and that's not the case. And for context, you'll hear that UF student population has remained relatively flat over these recent years, and there's no plans to increase our student enrollment significantly. And again, I think a lot of people think that our enrollment has increased to a great amount over the last number of years, and that just isn't the case. There are a lot more people applying to get into UF, and that will continue to be the case, but it's not as if we're admitting more students. So I'll just close by saying we remain committed to the relationship and our partnering with the city, and this is an important opportunity for us to, again, to work together to figure out ways in which we can collaborate and do great things. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Dixon, welcome.
Good evening. Again, thank you for having us here tonight to talk about our campus development agreement. We can move to the next slide. And Dr. Lang covered some of these points, but our campus development agreement really sort of grows out of the fact that we have completed the campus master plan. As he said, our Board of Trustees adopted that last December. So now that brings on this update of the three-party agreement. It's between the city, the county, Alachua County, and University of Florida. We have an existing campus development agreement that is in place through the end of 2025. So this update will extend that agreement out 5 additional years. The campus master plan and campus development agreement process are governed by certain statutes we've referenced here, and it's required for all of the universities in the state university system. And we do have to update every 5 years, so we will be back again in 5 years with a new campus master plan amendment and potentially another campus development agreement update. Next slide. So the master plan is a legal document, so it has a jurisdiction, and for us that is the main campus and 13 satellite properties in Alachua County. So development that happens on these properties are governed by our campus master plan, and development that happens on other properties such as Innovation District and the hospitals that are south of Archer Road and other clinics around town that are affiliated with UF, those are not in our campus master plan. And so those go through the typical city development review process or Alachua County if they're in the unincorporated area. Next slide. We did a lot of outreach during the process of developing our campus master plan, and we worked a lot with the city staff and county staff and through the manager's office over the course of developing the plan. We worked on it really through fall of 2019 through the end of 2020. For us on campus, most of our public involvement happens through 4 committees that we have that are actually very similar to ones you have here at the city, ones that deal with historic preservation, ones that deal with trees, ones that deal with land use, and one that deals with transportation. So we have the city and county planning directors on our land use and facilities planning committee, and that's really the point where we interface on a regular basis, on a monthly basis, about how we are implementing our master plan and any amendments that we make to it. We also have the city arborist on our board that deals with trees and tree removals. We worked with the city staff, again through the city manager's office, on the review of our draft campus master plan in the fall before it was adopted, and also in the development of something called the context area, which is a geographic area that we use for this analysis of potential impacts to public facilities and services. We worked very closely with city and county staff on our traffic impact analysis, just as they would with the developer. We made presentations to the county commission. We held a public information session and presented 3 times over the course of that year to our board of trustees. So there was, continual opportunities for updates and input. Next slide. Our campus development agreements have been around since 1998. That was the very first one. And in the early years, there were funds that were provided by the state of Florida through something called the Concurrency Trust Fund that funded the mitigation of impacts to certain public facilities and services. So since 1998, there was about $35 million given to the city of Gainesville and Alachua County, the bulk of that actually to the city of Gainesville, to offset impacts primarily to transportation systems. But in 2006, there were also some funds given for fire and emergency services. So you can see here the breakdown of what was provided in the 98 agreement, the 2004 agreement, and the 2006 agreement. The 2006 agreement transferred a little over $21 million, most of that coming to the city of Gainesville, almost $19 million. And we are actually still carrying forward about 1 million square feet that was authorized under that agreement with that payment. So we are carrying that forward into the draft campus development agreement that you're being presented with. And I'll get into that a little bit more if you want to go to the next slide. So here's sort of a quick summary of what the statute says about our work on the master plan and the campus development agreement in terms of the city's responsibilities. First of all, for the campus master plan, the statute says that our plan, our campus master plan, cannot be in conflict with the city's comprehensive plan. And so we did that review with your staff, and they found no conflict, which essentially means that the development we propose would be allowed under your future land use and zoning in your comprehensive plan. With regard to the development agreement, the statute lists some specific public facilities and services, which are roads, sanitary sewer, solid waste, drainage, potable water, parks and recreation, and public transportation. And for those specific public facilities and services, we have to include those in the development agreement. We have to describe what your comprehensive plan says about the level of service, what our development impact might be to those level of service standards that the city has, and what, if any, mitigations are required. The statute goes on to list some other public facilities and services that may be included if proposed by the Board of Trustees, and that is electricity, non-potable water, law enforcement, fire and emergency rescue, gas, and telephone. And as I mentioned in the past, we had included fire rescue and emergency services, and we are keeping that in there, but we have a finding of no impact in terms of your level of service standards. So the additional 5 years and the additional development that we're adding to this development agreement does not impact your level of service standards beyond those that were already paid for when the $21 million was given. Next slide. So to think a little bit more about how that can be, first of all, I think it's important to understand that the University of Florida operates really like a city within a city, and we provide many of those services ourselves. We have our own sanitary sewer. We provide our own solid waste collection and disposal. We provide most of our drainage, parks and recreation. We even provide some public transportation on campus, and we provide our own law enforcement. And additionally, we have existing arrangements with the city to pay for the public facilities of additional drainage on certain sites. We pay for potable water through GRU, and we also pay for some additional public transit, public transportation. And as I mentioned, in 2006, that some of that $21 million went toward the fire rescue piece. And those developments are remaining authorized through 2025. Next slide. So in this campus development agreement, we provided the draft to the city manager's office in August, and the existing campus development agreement that was signed back in 2015 authorized a little over 2 million net new gross square feet of development and 2,000 parking spaces, again, net new. And it authorized development on several of those 13 satellite properties. So the draft that we've delivered to you now authorizes just under 2.3 million gross square feet of new development, and that includes 1 million that was already in the existing development agreement. It authorizes 1,000 net new parking spaces, and it really carries forward the development that was authorized on a lot of those satellite properties. There are a couple that have some small incremental additions, but for the most part, we're also carrying forward development that was previously authorized at those satellite parcels. Next slide. So thinking a little bit more about the university's growth and how we can have these findings. If you think about enrollment as a driver of growth, you'll see that UF's enrollment has been very flat. Now, the important thing in these two lines, the orange line at the top is total enrollment. The blue line is on-campus head count. Well, they're both head count as opposed to FTEs, but the blue line is on campus. So when we look at the actual course loads of the students and who is physically coming to campus, not online students, not students that are at some of our other locations like our Jacksonville Health Campus, for example, we are still at about 46,000 on main campus today, even though we've got about 60,000 total enrollment. And you can see over time the gap in those lines increasing, and that's due to the increase of the online courses primarily. And as we look forward, we are really looking for our enrollment to remain pretty flat, even from where we are today, with this fall semester maybe even rolling back some. And the main campus headcount enrollment is actually projected to roll back a little as we continue to grow the online enrollment and potentially some other off-campus facilities. Next slide. Another way to think about our growth is in terms of our buildings. And so what you see here is a graph that shows UF building construction by decade. And you see starting in the 1950s, we really ticked up the amount of development. And I highlighted the couple of bars there, which are the 1990s and the first decade of the 2000s. And that is when those development agreements were signed that transferred some funds for impacts. And you can see at that point we were growing between 3 and 4 million gross square feet per year, or excuse me, per decade. The past decade we grew at about 1.5 million, so we're about half of that rate that we were previously. As we look ahead, we think the next decade will be about 2.3 million gross square feet, but we may or may not build all of that out, and we'll certainly be back in 5 years before we do build all that out. Next slide. Thinking about some of the development that is in our campus master plan in terms of housing, we expect to add 1,000 new beds on campus. And that really starts with the construction of a new residential complex with the Honors College that will open for fall of 2023 with 1,400 beds. And that's located kind of near 13th Street and Museum Road. Next slide. So I talked about the projects that were funded back in 2006 with that campus development agreement. I'll give you a little bit of a status report and sort of where that money went. So Alachua County got a little bit over $2 million. They are just now completing construction of that project. That's the connection between Southwest 8th Avenue and Southwest 20th Avenue along the new 61st Street, just west of I-75. And so they've obviously, since 2006, they've collected some interest and they've plowed that interest back into the project, which is currently under construction. City of Gainesville received just under $19 million. The last project, which was a $8 million reconstruction of Archer Road, was just completed in 2019. And the other projects that were completed included the countywide traffic management system. That's the cameras and the technology behind the signal system to make it more efficient. There was some purchase of some buses, some bicycle and pedestrian facilities, including the West 6th Street Rail Trail, some work at 2nd Avenue and 13th Street intersection, and there was a purchase of some equipment for Gainesville Fire Rescue. Again, because the funds took some while to spend out, there were some interest earnings, and those funds were directed toward a city internship program. $1 million was directed toward Depot Park construction. The interest funds were just used for the Complete Streets Study, Phase 1 and 2. Some funds were also given to the Working Food Relief Fund during these pandemic years, and a small amount toward the Countywide Bicycle Master Plan. Next slide. So I also like to remind you that this is not the only opportunity, as you heard Dr. Lane say. We have a partnership and we have an MOU with the city, and we have every intention of working with you and working to make this city the best it can be. And so we have, in that spirit, we've worked with you on a number of projects over the last 5 or 6 years, and can calculate about $1 million that have gone either to the city or to other community organizations. And I'll just kind of list off what those are. City of Gainesville, we paid for some street lighting improvements. We provided $200,000 to re-roof Fire Station number 2. We were a funding partner in the Downtown Strategic Plan recently. For the county, we have given some funds for some of their solid waste projects, which serve the entire county. We are committed to provide funding for the MTPO Bicycle Master Plan. Next slide. We have also provided funds to the Gainesville Regional Airport, Florida Community Design Center, the Community Weatherization Coalition, Partnership for Reimagining Gainesville, the Working Food Relief Fund. We've funded the Racial Equity Study. And you'll recall our Strategic Development Plan collaborative research projects, just under $300,000 for some projects that were jointly selected by UF and the city, which included funds for the GFR Community Paramedic Program. We funded and conducted an arts and culture strategic plan that was very community focused. We have partnered with some private developers in the city to allow a connection to Hall Road, which enables redevelopment of some lands west of 34th Street, which is consistent with your comprehensive plan and advances the MTPO's plans for connected street network west of 34th. We are right now under construction of an extension of Southwest 23rd Terrace at Archer Road. It will be called Ballpark Way, north of Archer Road, and that implements one of the MTPO's needs list projects. The modeling shows it relieves traffic off of Archer Road and 13th Street, and we are designing that, or we have designed it together with the city and the DOT we'll be completely rebuilding that intersection and getting some improvements that the city staff wanted there. We also like to remind people that we fund RTS at approximately $9 million a year annually, and that is not through the Campus Development Agreement. We are also GRU's #1 customer, spending about $30 million a year, and about half of all the U.S. utility bills actually go to GRU. And have to mention, too, that our students contribute about $1.25 billion annually to the local economy. Next slide. Next slide. I think we might have skipped one.
No, they just look the same, those last two did.
Oh, okay, there we go. So, I went through those things just to remind you again that, the Campus Development Agreement is not the only place that we partner, and certainly not the only place that we even outright provide funding toward the city's priority projects. So what is in this Campus Development Agreement? It extends the term of the agreement out 5 years through the end of 2030. It updates the agreement to your existing level of service standards in your comp plan. It updates the list of properties for which we pay your stormwater services fee. We found a couple that we were paying, and rightfully so, that we didn't have in the agreement, so we updated that list. It adds a small property to an existing property that was in there at Noonan's Lake. It goes through and recites the mitigations and development growth that was currently authorized through 2025, because it overlaps, this new development agreement overlaps the old one, but we'll carry forward those 5 years. It inventories the finding of no impact to those public facilities and services due to our growth through 2030. It authorizes that growth and the additional square footage and parking spaces. And then there are a couple of just technical corrections to reorganize and update dates and names. And again, there is no additional fiscal impact financial payment required. Next slide. So we're here tonight to ask you to go ahead and schedule the 2 public hearings that are required per the statute. It's typical of how you adopt other development agreements. And we are hoping to get that done, to get it to our Board of Trustees in December. The statute gives us a statutory deadline of 180 days from when we transmitted that draft, and we think that lands us in February. If we don't reach that agreement, there is a specified remedy, which is going to the state, to the Department of Economic Opportunity for some informal hearings, but I don't think any of us, expect that we will get to that. So we really hope that we can kind of work together with you and get this campus development agreement executed. And as I said, ideally, we would like to get those public hearings scheduled in November so we could get to our December Board of Trustees meeting. So with that, I'll just ask if there are any questions of me and Dr. Lane.
Okay, thank you both very much for the presentation. Also like to just thank our city staff for, I know a lot of conversations happened prior to this, and their continued participation with the university and the development of this plan. We'll turn to the commission for questions, and then we'll open it up to the public for any public comments. and then finally come back for action. Commissioner Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to thank you both and everyone involved for bringing this to us for what is essentially a first public hearing here for the city of Gainesville. And I look forward to more of the partnerships that you listed out. I am particularly fond of the RTS partnership. I am actively telling anybody who will listen for a second that is one of the best university-city partnerships anywhere in America that I'm aware of. We take it for granted, but it really is a phenomenal partnership. And without that partnership, our transit system would be a very different thing than it is for a city our size. So thank you again. I appreciate it.
Commissioner Duncan Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you, UF, for the presentation today. I just have a really quick question. I'm sure some of my colleagues on the dais here are a lot more familiar with it than I am, being the newest here. Would you just walk me through a definition of fair share and kind of tell me how that has played out in the past?
Certainly. So the fair share concept actually goes back to some older growth management statutes, that many of which have been rewritten for when you're dealing with developers. But the idea is that if the university or any developer creates an impact, say, to a certain road, and there's a dollar amount assigned to, let's say, adding turn lanes at an intersection, and then you determine what percentage of that development's traffic is creating that need, and then there's sort of a formula applied, and if the project is $100,000 and you're 30% of the impact, then you're on the hook for $30,000. So it's that fair share, and then the city or someone else have to pick up the rest.
Okay, thank you.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay,
thank you.
thanks.
You concluded? Okay. Commissioner Ariola.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate you all coming down and making this presentation. I also appreciated getting a chance to speak with a couple of your representatives. Linda, you were there, and I shared some of my thoughts there, and I wanted to share some of my thoughts for the commission, because I think we're in a really good place right now as this government begins to move towards a new comprehensive plan that puts racial equity at the very center piece of it. And so when you look at what the state government has outlined for these campus development agreements, all of this is absolutely appropriate. But if you look at the direction the city of Gainesville wants to go with our comprehensive plan, I think you're going to see in 5 years a very different type of update for what kinds of impact we're looking to see. Because if we consider impact to roads, we consider impact to utilities and all of these things. But what we're trying to do here in Gainesville is to start asking the question, what are the impact on people? What is the impact on neighborhoods? What is the impact on our folks? And so I just wanted to share that because I think going forward, all those partnerships, everything that we've worked on together, I think that's the centerpiece. We're really focusing on how UF and Gainesville can work better for people and not just infrastructure and things like that. So what I'd like to do for this meeting is, number one, I'd like us to give the approval for the CDA, but I'd like to make a second part where we can authorize the sort of the three interested parties here, the county, the city, and the university, to begin ideating some of those collaborations for the next 5 years and how we can address some of the crises in our city. Which necessarily don't have to do with on-campus development. I realize that. There is, of course, the piece that I mentioned about the loss of graduate housing on campus, which is near and dear to my heart. That's how my parents came to Gainesville, was graduate housing that was available to them. And wings of a butterfly, that I guess here I am now. So that's near and dear to my heart, and I do think housing is something that needs to be considered for future collaborations. There's so many avenues, so many ways that we can work together. So I really appreciate, and at the very top, Dr. Lane, you mentioned that partnership that was formed a few years ago, and the word that always comes to my mind, that partnership was based on mutual love and mutual respect, that these two institutions, our government and the University of Florida, our fates are intertwined, and as the university climbs up rankings, you know, I don't know if there's a ranking for the top cities in the United States, but I want us to focus more on how we're taking care of our people, and there's a lot of change going on in Gainesville. So, without going too much more into it, I just want to go ahead and I don't see any more lights, so I'll go ahead and make the motion that we accept the CDA on first hearing, or do we have to wait for a second?
We need to,
Is it
the
order?
motion would be to schedule this for 2 public hearings in November.
Okay, so this is not,
This is to get it to that point, yeah.
okay, so let's go ahead and schedule those. So motion to schedule those public hearings. And then my second part would be to direct staff to work with UF and the county to address issues pertaining to housing would be my first thought.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second? Second, okay. Second by Commissioner Ward, Madam Clerk. I don't know who wants to answer my question. I'll defer to seniority, I think, Dr. Lane. This came up briefly this morning at the legislative delegation hearing from Dr. Brody, and really, I think, a plea to our legislative representatives to allow Santa Fe to think about their spaces in a new way and to allow them to adapt their spaces for what is looking like a different type of expectation from their students, a different type of learning experience. And if I was reading through the lines correctly, one in which involves them not necessarily being on campus as much as we have seen traditionally. As you have these discussions internally with your board of trustees, with your faculty senate, and with folks like city and county folks that sit on some of these committees with you, are you having those conversations too about what the physical environment demands might be looking out 5 or 10 years, and this sort of trade-off between new building and construction versus repurposing existing facilities? And if I was not clear, please let me know. I can probably do a better job of asking that question.
No, I think it's a great question, great commentary. So, COVID has made it patently clear that we're not quite sure what the future is going to look like in terms of space. We don't know to what extent the buildings, the structures we have currently are going to be used in the same way, whether through teaching or in housing. We don't know what the housing needs are going to be 5 years from now, leave alone 10 and 15 years from now. We're only trying to address the here and now. We do know, for example, we've heard this hue and cry from the public and others that there is a need for graduate and family housing, and we're working hard to address that. I want everyone to know that we're very interested in affordability and making sure that takes place. How much is hard for us to say 5 and 10 years from now, because I don't know what we're going to need in that regard. I can only tell you that we're paying very close attention to that. I know that Dr. Brody mentioned this morning there are deferred maintenance needs, for example, on the Santa Fe College campus. There are massive deferred maintenance needs at the University of Florida that we need to deal with as well, some of which are in our housing units. So we need to take all those into account. So it's not just a matter of programmatic needs, it's a matter of fiscal needs and demands and how we address those. So, Mayor, I don't know if that answered your question or not, but I'm happy to respond further if you want to elaborate.
No, that's fine. Thank you, Dr. Lane. And I think specifically with graduate housing or the graduate experience in general, I think the chair of your board of trustees said very clearly at, I don't know if it was your last meeting or 2 meetings ago, but that the focus for the board for the past 5 years or so, maybe more, has been almost entirely on the undergraduate experience. And there was a sort of intentional pivot looking forward to focusing more on the graduate experience. including housing. So, I mean, it seems like those things are aligned. I just, it's, not to jump down a rabbit hole here, but it's a conversation that we're having as a city as well. What do our neighbors expect from their city services and facilities in a post-COVID world? And that's a difficult question to answer because we don't know exactly what that world looks like. But I think most of us are confident it's not going to look like the pre-COVID world, and those expectations are going to be different. Allowing the flexibility, especially in these large plans like our comp plan or your campus development plan, that as we start to learn and understand those things better, you're able to adjust to provide that, I think is important. But I'm hearing from you that you're going to be able to do that, certainly within this 5-year extension or 10-year horizon.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate how important that is, that I think we remain in dialogue and stay aligned on these issues. I mean, it's through conversations like this and many through other avenues that we stay in sync on how we provide that.
Very good, thank you. Okay, let's go back to the commission. Commissioner Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to make clear that my second on this is my intent of this motion as a seconder is to make a public statement that yes, of course we want to work with the University of Florida and with the county and the Gainesville Housing Authority and everyone else involved in housing issues before us. I think it's fair to make that broad statement. I don't want anybody walking out thinking that we have directed any of our partners to come to the table. We come to the table when we all bring good solutions to the table. So that's what I'm looking for, is for us to bring ideas that are a little out of the box over the next year, 2 years, as the picture becomes more clear about what University of Florida student housing needs are going to be. That's when we make requests and have conversations with the University of Florida about that. We also, frankly, we need to have a conversation about workforce housing throughout the community. And it is not, in my view, a direction so much as an invitation. And it's incumbent on us to bring great ideas forward and to share those with you. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thanks. And I certainly that's the spirit in which I heard the motion being made. That was a acknowledgement of one of our major challenges in this community is housing, and certainly the best way for us to address those is collaboratively. So I appreciate that. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to schedule a pair of public hearings in the month of November to consider approving this and moving it forward in the process. We will now turn to public comment, and we'll alternate between folks in chamber and folks on the line. Who do we have with us? Adam tonight?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm here with Natalie tonight.
Great, Adam. All right, so stand by. We do have Mr. Scott here, and then I'll turn over to you. Mr. Scott, welcome.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, Nathan Scott. So with respect to the University of Florida Campus Development Agreement and the motion on the floor, first I want to state that I'm a double gator. I love UF, and I bleed orange and blue. That being said, like a growing number of citizens in Gainesville, I'm of the opinion that UF needs to step up and do more for the community as a community partner. If I could please have the overhead with streaming video, please. So this is an excerpt from the presentation, and of interest is the second highlight on the page. If proposed by the University Board of Governors, additional facilities and services, that's relevant. We've heard discussion tonight about some of the things that they've contributed to the community, which I'll get to the point. I do want to thank them for the RTS contribution. But the issue here, particularly in respect to the East Side Clinic, what I've heard from the community is that they want a clinic. It's been long overdue, providing access to urgent care and dental services, and that's been lacking. It's been lacking because the City Commission really hasn't done what they promised East Gainesville for many years. But with respect to UF, apparently they own land there, yet they don't want to fund the cost of the building, which was originally presented as $2 million, now it's $5 million. They want the city and the county to use government funds to fund construction of that building. And they allege that they would incur a $200,000 loss per year. Well, you know, between the federal subsidies, the state subsidies, and local subsidies, whether you have insurance or not, UF Health makes money. And so I think that in good faith, they should fund the construction of that building on their own dime, on their own property, and be more of a community partner. I think that's a reasonable ask. You know, it's nice to have your hand out and get money, but they've got a lot of resources. The city doesn't, the county doesn't, and certainly the taxpayers don't. Let me put this in further perspective, is the GRU customers were unjustly forced to pay a $1 million for utility easement for a chilled water plant at Innovation Square that GRU was entitled to for free as a matter of law to provide ancillary utility services. This was another giveaway to UF at the expense of GRU customers who have some of the highest electric rates in the state of Florida due to the ongoing negligence and financial mismanagement of the utility at the hands of the mayor and Gainesville City Commission, along with the 5 debt downgrades under your tenure, Mayor Poe. So in closing, again, everyone loves UF, but they need to step up to the plate. I was watching the football game the other day, and on the headsets, UF Health is advertising on the headset cushions. If UF Health has money to advertise and promote itself like that, certainly it has money to invest in our community and pay for its own building without seeking a local and county bailout. Thank you.
Adam, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have one caller at the moment. It's Ms. Debbie Martinez. Ms. Martinez, you have 3 minutes.
Yes, thank you so much. Vice President Lane knows that suppressing free speech does not work. Unfortunately, Mayor Poe does not know that. At the beginning of the meeting this evening, Mr. Poe failed to ask if any of the citizens would like to speak to the motion to approve the agenda. Sadly, this happens far too often. And I echo comments that were just made by attorney and former Public Service Commissioner, Mr. Nathan Scott. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. Mr. Mayor, that was the last call.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker in the chamber, please.
Good afternoon, Joe Beatty. I'll make my comments and then I've got another comment. I was just listening on my way over here to your comments, and regarding this motion and any other motions, I really suggest that this whole commission go and take a serious course in parliamentary procedure so you understand what you're doing. I heard Mr. Ward say that his intention in seconding the motion, and then he went on with what his intention was and what he means and stuff. You have allowed at previous meetings, you've allowed people to withdraw a motion. You don't understand that when somebody makes a motion, they say, I'd like to talk about that. That's what it means when they make a motion. You need a second person that says, yeah, that's worth spending our time on. That's what the seconder is doing. He's not saying, I'm for it, I'm against it. It's worth discussing. And those motions don't belong to anybody in particular. They belong to the body. And once they're made, they need to be voted on, up or down. And I think it's real important for this item and every other item that you follow your process and that you give people a fair shot. Just like Ms. Martinez said, you didn't give people a chance to talk before on the adoption of the agenda. That's been happening a lot. And with regards to the comments that Mr. Scott made, the things that the university is going to be doing, Shands, that we're going to be funding, that they should be funding, you know, I'm against that. And I think we really have to look at your job is to take care of the city. And all these partnerships sometimes seem to get us in trouble. And since I got 57 seconds, I would say I don't understand this wiping off the lectern. It's getting very sticky. Between speakers, there are germicides that last for 24 hours. There's no reason for all of this theater and to have, it's theater. and you don't have to do that to protect the public. Thank you.
Hey, Adam, do you have anybody else?
Mr. Mayor, there is nobody on the lines at this time.
Okay. Anybody else in chamber wish to speak? Okay, thank you. We'll turn back to the commission. Seeing no further lights, we'll move to a vote. The motion is to schedule 2 public hearings in November and to move forward with discussions between the city and our other partners, including UF, surrounding housing. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously with Commissioner Johnson absent. Thank you both for being here. I appreciate it, and we will see you in November. All right. Okay, our next item is a discussion of an appointment to the interim city attorney. I want to thank my colleagues for allowing a little extra time. I was able to talk to all 3 candidates at some length, and that was very helpful to me. So just again, thank you. I'm grateful that you allowed me that chance. I'm happy to open it up to any commentary by any of the commissioners, or we can also move to a ballot vote if that's what we want to do, really at the discretion of the commission. Commissioner Ariola?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like for us to vote on the candidates, but if we want to do some sort of balloting, I'm not a huge fan of that, but if that's what the commission would like to do. Otherwise, I would make the same motion I made last time.
Okay. To me, the easiest thing to do is a ballot, because I think then it's clear what the preference is, and then we can get a motion to that effect. You know, and we also have one additional candidate that wasn't part of that discussion last week.
Well,
Go ahead, Commissioner Ariola. You can still have the floor if you have additional comments.
yeah, my feeling is that the candidate should come from the city attorney's office. So if you all have a preference to appoint an outside candidate, I'd like to hear the reasoning for why that would be before we go to secret ballots.
Sure. Well, they're not secret; they're public. It shows a clear indication if there's a preference. We don't have to do that. I'll do it whatever way the majority of this commission wants me to do it. Commissioner Santos.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I was able to speak with all 3 candidates well. I think external one is good, but I'm not sure if that's the best fit right now with how he'd want the contract to be set up. Out of the 2 internal ones, I think they're 2 great candidates. I still haven't made up my mind 100% right now. I don't know if there's other commissioners who feel strongly in one direction or not, who may have reasons why they want to go in one direction. I would appreciate if that is the case. If they make those statements. Thank you.
Thanks. Commissioner Duncan Walker.
Mr. Mayor, I did have the opportunity to speak with the candidates out of the city attorney's office, had 2 wonderful conversations with both of them, and really am cognizant of the current city attorney's needs and requests for this to be filled as soon as possible so that she can transition the work over to them prior to the time that she leaves us. And so I would like to make the decision today. I'm certainly ready to move forward with that discussion.
Thank you. Yeah, it's absolutely my intention that we'll make a decision today. I think it's just a matter of which candidate the commission prefers. Commissioner Ward?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've spoken with both of the internal candidates, Mr. Nee and Mr. McDermott. I don't think we can go wrong, frankly. I mean, they're incredibly highly qualified. They will provide, I believe, seamless transition, and I think that's important that we go ahead and do that. I would like to see a ballot, and then we can make a motion in a particular direction. And both these gentlemen are going to continue to work in the office. So I want this to be a clean process moving forward so that no one feels bad about, one of them is not going to win. And I want that person to continue to feel good about working for the city of Gainesville. So I would prefer that we ballot first.
Okay, and I agree. I wanted to speak with all the candidates. I am most comfortable moving forward with an internal candidate as well. I do have a preference. It's razor thin, but it's someone I think is just better positioned to take over the job at this point. But let's take a brief recess. We'll let the clerk get a ballot printed out. We'll do that. We'll see where the check marks lie, and then we can get a motion on the floor. So we'll be in recess. Let's call it till 6 o'clock. Okay, thank you. We're going to call this meeting back to order. We all have our ballots in hand, so if you would each fill out your ballot. And then, Madam Clerk, if you don't mind coming out, Ms. Kessler, and you can collect the ballots and then let us know what the tallies are. They're public documents. I initialed it by my name. There's our names across the top, and each person will fill it out under their name. Okay, thank you, Ms. Kessler. According to the ballots, Mr. Nee got 4 votes, Mr. McDermott got 2 votes. Is anybody interested in putting a motion on the floor? Commissioner Ward?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we authorize you to negotiate with Mr. Nee for a contract for interim city attorney.
Okay, is there a second? Motion by Ward, second by Duncan Walker to appoint Dan Nee as our interim city attorney and instruct me to negotiate terms of his contract. We will try to bring that back to the commission at our next regular meeting, if that's okay with everybody. We will now open it up for any members of the public who wish to speak to the motion. Adam, you have anybody?
Mayor, there's nobody on the line at this time, but given the delay in streaming, if we could wait maybe even 15 or 30 seconds.
Absolutely. Anybody in chambers wish to speak to the motion? While we're waiting for that, I want to thank all 3 candidates for putting their name forward, especially Mr. McDermott, who does an excellent job with our office, and I know will provide incredible support during the transition. And thank you, Mr. Nee, for, again, being willing to serve. I know that you will show excellent leadership as you work with Ms. Shalley with her departure. Adam?
Well, sir, there's still nobody on the line at this time.
Okay, then we'll move back to the commission. All in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All opposed? That motion passes 5-1 with Sacco in dissent and Johnson absent. Okay, our next item is the resolution required instructing me to issue a proclamation calling for a special election. A special election will be on Tuesday, November 16th, establishing the qualifying dates for the special election. Qualifying dates have, of course, passed. We have 5 candidates that qualified for this special election. Early voting will start on Friday, November 12th and last through Sunday, November 14th. The regular election will be on November 16th, and then a runoff will be January 21st through 23rd for early voting, and the 25th. I'm sorry, did I get that right? Yeah, 25th for the election day if a runoff is necessary. Commissioner Santos?
Thank you, Mayor. I move resolution 210370.
Motion by Santos, second by Ward to adopt the proposed resolution. Commissioner Sacco?
Mr. Mayor, so I've had a couple of our neighbors contact me about the election, every aspect of it. And I know that the dates are set, and I'm fine with the dates. My concern was more the hours of, the hours available for ballot drop-off and early voting, as they seem pretty work hours, and they wouldn't be fully accessible. So I was wondering, within whatever wiggle room we still have, if we could adjust those hours forward a little to be available more in the evening for folks who don't get off work.
Yeah, so without objection, if the clerk wants to reach out to the supervisor of elections and see to see what latitude we have, whatever they can arrange within the dates that we set will be fine. I don't know how much control we'll have over that. I think it'll depend on their staffing and all that. But we'll certainly reach out and ask and allow Supervisor Barton to come back to us with any alternatives or options.
And to make it clear, I'm not necessarily asking for more hours, just that maybe at least on one day they'd be open, they shift it up to make it later.
We'll have that conversation with her and see what she says.
Thank you.
Okay, open up to members of the public.
Yes, good evening, Mayor Poe, Nathan Scott. So with respect to the resolution, I would like to specifically get an opinion from the city attorney as to the legality of the resolution, noting in fact that you're approving something after the fact that involves specifying the qualifying dates where qualifying is already closed. And the crux of this is that this resolution should have been approved at the meeting that you canceled for non-criminal threats, despite having 2 sworn law enforcement officers and no perceived threats whatsoever. So it seems to be another data point of the commission not doing its job. You're trying to slide something through here of which critical dates have already passed. Maybe you should extend the qualifying dates. Maybe you should take a look at some of these important things before you just try to rubber stamp things. But I think it would be informative and instructive to have the attorney opine as to the resolution that is basically approving something that's already happened in time. It's a fact, as stated. Qualifying dates, Monday, September 20th, 2021, beginning at noon, and ending on Friday, September 24th, 2021 at noon. You had a meeting last week on Thursday. That was in the midst of qualifying. That would have been more appropriate, but you're approving a resolution after the fact and calling for a proclamation for a special election where qualifying's already occurred. Maybe it's just me, but I have to question whether that's legal in terms of the resolution. And I think the city attorney should opine on that with all due respect. In respect to poll hours, you have early voting. The polls are open 7 to 7, and that's adequate time for people to vote. I mean, early voting is very convenient. You go up, and very seldom, unless it's on near election day, do you have a big line, unless it's a big election. It's very convenient, so I'm not sure why we continually have to do things that some would seem, the courtesy is already extended by virtue of early voting before the election with numerous days, numerous hours. Not sure why we need to shift that to accommodate it. I mean, it seems pretty reasonable, 7 to 7, before work, after work. Most people can get to the polls, at lunch. It takes 5 minutes, and it's your patriotic duty. I wish more people would vote in the city of Gainesville, but they're that apathetic for the dysfunction and fiscally irresponsible spending of the city commission. So we'll see what kind of turnout we get. Nathan Crabb's editorial was commenting on that, but we definitely need change at City Hall. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll get the attorney to opine on that after public comment. Adam, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It looks like we have one caller being screened right now. Is there anybody else in chambers while we do so?
Ms. Beatty? Yeah, we do have one, Adam, so we'll take that and then go back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mulder.
Good afternoon, Joe Beatty again. Mr. Scott kind of stole my thunder. I too am very concerned about this. We can put that on, show the public that when you talked about the items in the resolution just now, Mr. Poe, you didn't even mention the qualifying dates that are in here. I find this this is, this puts in the qualifying dates, as Mr. Scott just said. And also, it was supposed to be adopted on the 12th, as I think he alluded to. With all the talk about citizen engagement and you going around and giving talks in various places and a PowerPoint, how you want to get more citizens engaged, doing a resolution after the qualifying is closed doesn't really show me any effort to get citizens truly engaged. You didn't give much lead time for people to decide that they wanted to run. And, you know, I just find it ironic, all your talk about citizen engagement and high salaried people to further citizen engagement. And you're going about and talking about those of us who come and try to inform you, try to engage you in some conversation and some thinking. And as you're going around talking about this, you negate the value of the participation of involved, educated citizens like myself, like Mr. Scott, like the others that you complain about keep coming and saying the same thing. If you want to get citizens engaged, I think it's time you treated us with respect. You gave us an opportunity to dialogue with you. You showed some interest in what we are saying so that you don't keep making mistakes, quote unquote, and having things with unintended consequences when for years citizens have been coming before you and trying to engage and trying to stop and prevent you from making decisions that there weren't unintended consequences. It was the way your process is. And, you know, I'll leave here. You'll say thank you for your comments. They're probably falling on deaf ears so far. Most of you have not shown, maybe even all but one, have shown any interest in hearing what we say and thinking about what it is. And I think this is a good example of just ram it through, do what you want, talk a lot about citizen engagement, and make it almost impossible for people to be truly engaged. And
Thank you.
with that, I'll stop.
Right on. Adam, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have one caller at this time. It is Ms. Debbie Martinez. Ms. Martinez, you have 3 minutes.
Yes, thank you so much for taking my call. Just wanted to make 3 quick points. Even if our city attorney, Ms. Shalley, and I know you all go by first names, but for the public, she's our city attorney, Ms. Shalley. Even if she states that this is it's legal for what you're doing with this motion, it's still, a glaring example of this commission's gross incompetence. And, the third point is, what I hear far too often by members of this commission is, these mistakes are made because you all are overworked. Well, you're overworked because you all take on too many things that have nothing to do with municipal governance. So you're creating, the mountains of work, not only just for you, but for our staff. So, this is a problem of your own making, and I just, ask you, just like so many other citizens continue to ask you, to just stick within municipal government. Stop trying to solve the problems of the state, the country, the world. But I look forward to hearing what our city attorney, Ms. Shalley, has to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anybody else, Adam?
We do have one more caller being screened. Give me another 15 or 30 seconds.
Sure.
Please. All righty, Mr. Mayor. Excuse me. It is Mr. Armando Grundy Gomez. Mr. Grundy Gomez, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. First of all, I have full faith and confidence in Commissioner Desmond Walker's judgment to appoint somebody that we need to have serving at this time. I think that she exercised good judgment. I wish more would be able to rationalize and look at things and not have their own personal feelings and biases because somebody may or may not have their personal social skills or doesn't communicate with them what they like. But what I appreciate is she looks at big picture. And we need more commissioners to operate big picture and get rid of their own personal biases and personal agendas that have been ravaging and harming the city for the last 18 months. Yeah, I support fully Commissioner Desmond Duncan Walker's idea of who we need to pull forward as city attorney. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mayor, that is our last caller. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion on the floor. Madam Attorney, can you weigh in on the question that was asked?
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners, I certainly will. So to begin with, as the Commission is aware, you are operating under very short deadlines imposed by our city charter to hold a special election to fill the vacancy created by the resignation of Commissioner Johnson. So to that end, what you all did on September 2nd is you had a discussion about this special election, and at that meeting, you actually approved both the date of the special election and all of the qualifying dates. And you authorized the clerk to enter into the contract with the supervisor to carry that out. And then there was the publicity and notices and all of the things that the city does to get the word out about the qualifying dates, which again were set on September 2nd. The charter also requires then that you follow up with a resolution, but the purpose of the resolution is to direct the mayor to issue a proclamation calling the special election 30 days prior to the special election. So that's really the sole purpose of this resolution. It's not to set the qualifying dates. The reason they're included in there, though, is the charter says when you do this resolution, it should be in the same manner and form as in the case of regular elections. So we simply used the same form that we do for the regular elections, which does recite the qualifying dates. But again, it's not this resolution that set those. You all set those back on September 2nd. And obviously people knew about qualifying, 5 candidates qualified. So we believe, and I will be signing off on this resolution as to form and legality, because again, we're trying to hold a special election and meet all of the dates required by the city's charter.
Okay, thank you, Madam Attorney. I appreciate that. We will now, Madam Clerk, move to a roll call vote.
Commissioner Sacco? Aye.
Commissioner DeSantis? Aye. Commissioner Ariola?
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan Walker? Aye. Commissioner Ward?
Aye.
Aye, that motion passes unanimously with Johnson absent. And up next, we have general public comment. Anybody want to speak to anything that wasn't on our agenda? Now is the time.
Yes, good evening, Mayor Poe, Commissioners, Nathan Scott. So Sunday's paper had a op-ed from Commissioner Ward in it. I guess he's a self-appointed community thought leader now, but I'd like to offer a response to the op-ed, which is entitled, "What's Really Happening at City Hall? Dysfunction, Fiscally Irresponsible Spending." What Commissioner Ward conveniently failed to mention in the self-serving narrative are the massive, unjustified, multi-year GRU rate increases and property tax increases that he and the Gainesville City Commission and the mayor voted to impose on low-income households, hardworking Gainesville families, and local business to further subsidize what he seems to be bragging about. Commissioner Ward, when he ran for re-election, voted against GRU rate increases, but suddenly he's developed amnesia. This year alone, Commissioner Ward voted to approve 24% electric rate increase, 7% in FY22, 34% wastewater increase, 5% in FY22, and additional property tax increases in FY22, which represent a 14% increase in city tax revenue over the last 2 years alone. Commissioner Ward and the Gainesville City Commission have an insatiable spending addiction with taxpayer money. Who pays for all these giveaways? We, the taxpayers, low-income households that can't afford their electric bills. Imposing additional financial hardship and additional financial harm on those least able to afford it is really not something to be bragging about, but that doesn't stop Commissioner Ward from trying to spin reality and to fit a convenient political narrative. GRU electric rate increases for FY22 could have been avoided, but again, Commissioner Ward just rubber stamps it, City Commission rubber stamps it, Mayor Poe rubber stamps it. Only two that didn't approve those rate increases were Commissioner Desmond Duncan Walker and Gail Johnson. Again, 5-2 votes on all fiscally irresponsible issues. You know, again, $1.7 billion in GRU debt, along with the $56 million financial impact of additional borrowing costs resulting from the most recent GRU debt downgrade and the last debt downgrade, notwithstanding the fact that GRU's debt's been downgraded 5 times in less than 10 years. Clearly illustrates the negligence and malfeasance of Commissioner Ward, Gainesville City Commission, and you, Mayor Poe. You know, you guys seem to be more concerned with promoting yourselves than being fiscally responsible stewards of taxpayer money. And that's just the reality. That's what's really happening at City Hall. Dysfunction, tax increases, rate increases, fiscally irresponsible spending, and a disdain from hearing from the public. Finally, my remaining time, if you could please clarify on the vote. You stated Commissioner Johnson was absent. I saw her outside, so I'm not sure. Is she supposed to be here or not supposed to be here? That was confusing. Thank you.
Absent just means you're not at the dais at the time of the vote. Adam, do you have anybody?
Yep, we have 2 callers in the queue at the moment. The first of which is Ms. Debbie Martinez. Ms. Martinez, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you for taking my call. Now that Mr. Poe is, I don't know if you can hear me, but I'll start again. Thank you again for taking my call. But now that Mr. Poe is running for Congress, I see Commissioner Harvey Ward on a regular basis that he's been appearing, you know, on local television news outlets speaking on behalf of the Gainesville City Commission. And it seems a little early for, you know, Mr. Ward to be taking over for Mr. Poe, especially since the other members of the commission have not had an opportunity to weigh in on who should be covering for Mr. Poe while he's running for Congress. But anyway, regardless, the constant media exposure that Commissioner Harvey Ward has been getting should be quite advantageous for him in his bid for mayor next year.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker in chambers. General public comment. Okay, Adam, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our last speaker is Mr. Armando Grundy Gomez. Armando, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Adam. So, Mr. Mayor, I'm piggybacking. I also read the article. I've been watching Ron Cunningham's, a lot of his editorials lately. And a lot of his editorials seem to be pointing out, and I guess it's one of your colleagues up there, I don't know if it was Commissioner Ward or not, but pointing out that there's a quote-unquote deep state, a deep state at City Hall. That's interesting. The deep state isn't a deep state. The deep state comes from the Breakfast Club. There's no other deep state at City Hall. There's no clandestine, secret operational Trumpian tactics. The Trumpian tactics come from the dais that you all serve on. That's where the Trump tactics, the fake news and the news media that you all want to pretend to reframe things comes from you all on that dais. The deep state comes from the Feldman Breakfast Club at Peach Valley Cafe. It is not anybody working at City Hall. And if anybody is to blame for going after Lee Feldman, anybody that wants to come at me, come at Armando Grundy. I am live and in living color because I have no qualms and I've had all day. And Mr. Feldman knows that. Nobody speaks for me. I speak for me. Know that. Know that I will give you the same energy even when your behind is gone. So there's nobody that has spoken for me. And if you have a qualm with that, you all could take it up with me. Mary Lou Hildebrecht knows all well, too well, that very well. So there is no deep state. There's nobody speaking for anybody. I speak for myself, and I'm going to come for you continually until you go. Goodbye.
Thank you, Mr. Grundy Gomez. Mr. Mayor, that was our last caller. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Ms. Beatty?
Yes. Again, Joe Beatty. I wasn't going to speak, but I would really like the two commissioners, Mr. Hey Santos and Mr. Ariola, to please tell everybody what they were talking about. As I understand the sunshine rules, that everything that happens at these meetings is supposed to be audible. You're not supposed to be talking to each other. So would they kindly inform us as to their conversation?
Sunshine law only applies if it has to do with any city business.
It didn't have to do with city business.
Yeah.
Well, how's one to know whether it has to do with city business if we don't hear it? They really shouldn't be, it's not good form. And we have no idea what they said or what they're doing. They shouldn't be leaning over talking to each other. And you do it sometimes, and Mr. Ward does it sometimes, and, this is not good form. How do we know? So they both say that it had nothing to do with city business. But I think I'll look for the citation, but I think everything that goes on in the meeting should be audible to us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, thank you all for sharing your thoughts. Any member comment? All right, no further business before us. We've already.
I did this with my finger. Sorry, I should do that.
Thank you. Yeah, you need to put your light on. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, really quickly, I just wanted to say a couple of things. No need to take any votes. I just wanted to ask our city clerk if we could get a memo sort of opining on the ability of this commission to schedule a special session of the Charter Review Commission. I began to think more and more about those final few months where COVID hit and their business was put virtually almost instantaneously after months and months of meeting in person. So I'd like for us to consider on a future date if we could agenda a future consideration of perhaps reconvening the Charter Review Commission. I just want to put that out there for everybody. And secondly, as promised after the last joint meeting, I had a conversation with the CEO of North Florida Regional Hospital. It was a great conversation, very gracious. He was very clear that he was not interested in getting in between what we were doing with UF, but that he was really interested in potential opportunities outside of that. So we're talking about we have an economic development project going with that grocery corner store, and I mentioned that one of the elements there was potentially a clinic, and he mentioned what the hospital is up to, which is constantly looking for ways to explore expansion, because they too are sort of running up against it on their own campus. So anyway, I just wanted to be transparent, let you all know that I'm going to make that connection so that Mr. Lawson can be apprised. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And with that, we are adjourned. Everybody have a good night.